Hello everyone, welcome back to another Football Manager experiment. This one based around the recent announcement of FIFA's Team of the Year and Coach of the Year, and that's the reason I picked Leicester City. Claudio Ranieri was the Coach of the Year. It's only fair he gets to coach this team. And the idea for this experiment is, as the majority of these players were La Liga, there's only Neuer who wasn't in La Liga at some point in the last 12 months. I've decided to bring them to the Premier League where they'll be on kind of neutral territory under the stewardship of Ranieri. Leicester are a good club to pick because they are league champions, but the game doesn't usually rate them in the top 5 or 6 positions. So this team will still be facing all the biggest teams in the Premier League, and it'll be a test of how good is the World Team of the Year. So what I've done is I've removed usually the secondary player for each position from the Leicester squad, just terminated their contract and brought in the Team of the Year players. The idea is that they will still have to compete for their place in the team, probably not too hard, but the likes of Riyad Mahrez and Jamie Vardy may provide some sterner competition in this team. But all the big players are here. Neuer is here, Dani Alves, the whole defence, midfield and strike force. So it means that Leicester City have the magical partnership of Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi and Luis Suarez up front. That is going to be a brilliant front three for the Premier League to have to handle. All I'm going to do in this save, I'm not going to go into it too much, is we'll jump forward 1 year, 2 years, 3 years like we normally do in our experiments, and we'll see where Leicester are at the end of those 3 years, if they've managed to keep their players, if the team has succeeded. They are quite old players, which is something that a lot of people haven't necessarily realised. The average age of this team is near 30, if not over. So it'll be interesting to see where they are in 3 years' time, but I would still expect this team to walk the Premier League. And with Ranieri in charge, there's no reason why they can't do that. So we'll see what happens, and I'll meet you in 1 year's time. We are now 1 year in the future with Leicester City, and unfortunately, I went a little bit too far in the future by about a month. I crossed into July when progressing this save, which means that we've lost the easy access to some of these competitions. So we're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way through the fixture list. And as you can see, they started off their season brilliantly, beating Manchester United in the Community Shield, then going on an excellent winning run where they didn't concede a goal in their first 4 Premier League games, despite playing Chelsea at home, Everton away. Then the Champions League campaign kicked off. They carried on their excellent league form, progressed through the EFL Cup, picked up a victory away at Anfield, and then had a really poor run, losing at home to Napoli, away to Spurs and away to Arsenal, which knocked them out of the EFL Cup. But then they got back on a very good run of form. I think they must have got through their Champions League group based on that, and if we just scroll down, yep, there's a Champions League knockout stage down there that we'll get to. But it was also just a really nice unbeaten run. They managed to draw with Manchester City, beat Manchester United at Old Trafford as well, and Arsenal at the Emirates, and then Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. That is not a bad run. A little home defeat to Southampton, just ruining their cause a little bit, but they managed to progress through the FA Cup quite easily, beat Liverpool at home, and this form looks like they won the title already. This is brilliant stuff against the biggest teams. Real Madrid in the Champions League knockout round would have been tough, but they beat Spurs in the FA Cup 5th round, and then managed to overcome Real Madrid as well. 2-0 win in the Bernabeu, sending them through. Real Madrid would have been very weakened from losing so many players that they have in the Team of the Year. Coming through against Villa in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, beating Napoli, who are in their group, home and away. That's not a really difficult draw. Napoli in the Champions League quarterfinals, that's quite a fortunate draw to get. But they beat Crystal Palace in the FA Cup, drew with United at home in the league, and then Barcelona in the Champions League semi-final. They lost at the Camp Nou, but then won 4-0 at the King Power Stadium. Excellent performance, 2 from Suarez, 2 from Ronaldo. It's probably worth just taking a look at who's got their goals, and it looks like Suarez has been the key figure. Jamie Vardy scoring in that one. It looks like Jamie Vardy did have a bit of a party this year. But then they beat Arsenal again in the league, won the FA Cup, beating Manchester City, and then won the Champions League final, beating Arsenal. What a first season that is. with Ranieri in charge, they have really done well there. So if we just have a look at the individual competitions, it's only the three that we really care about, the Premier League being the main one. Excuse the little awkward way that we have to go about looking at this table, but there we go. 30 wins is pretty impressive. 6 draws, 2 defeats, 96 points is not a bad haul at all. And Arsenal and United both getting 87 is pretty impressive too. But nothing on the Leicester performance. That was absolutely brilliant. As you can see, Lionel Messi won Player of the Year. He got 15 goals in 37 games, 16 assists in that time, average rating of 8.21. So he was the best player. The top goal scorer went to Luis Suarez. He got 26 in 35. Callum Wilson coming third. Little tip, if you can sign Callum Wilson in the Premier League in your first season, you should definitely do it. He is seriously overpowered in this game and gets so many goals for Bournemouth. Ibra doing well, 19 goals, but not able to catch Luis Suarez. So that's the Premier League. A brilliant performance by Leicester to come top. In the Champions League, they managed to get all the way to that final. That is not bad going at all. Winners of the 16-17 competition, and it means they did the treble with the FA Cup in there too. Some excellent performances from some of their players. If we just have a look at the senior squad and maybe some of the individual players, the likes of Luis Suarez, he last season managed to get 41 goals in 52 starts, 3 substitute appearances. That's not bad going. Cristiano Ronaldo, how did he get on? He didn't win any of the awards, which is a little bit surprising, but he played 50 odd games, got 25 goals in them, just 5 assists, so that's maybe where he was let down in the average rating. But Lionel Messi, the Player of the Year, he did quite well. 25 goals, 22 assists, that is not a bad return at all. And then you've got other key players, the likes of Andres Iniesta. I assume he played quite a bit last season. He did 36 games at a start, 13 appearances. By the way, I'm looking at these stats down here. These only show you the Premier League stats. These show you all competitions at the bottom row. Very good performances there. And it looks like all of the players are still here. You've still got Neuer in goal. I assume he was phenomenal. Yeah, 14 clean sheets in the league, 25 clean sheets in 59 games. That is not bad going. PK still there, Marcelo Ramos, sorry. Who was the other one? Dani Alves, yep, he's still there. We'll have to see if he is playing that many games at right back. Only 17 appearances, so he is not getting in the team. He's been kept out, I assume, by Danny Simpson, which is quite funny. Maybe Danny Simpson should have been in the team of the year. Kroos still there, Iniesta and Modric, so they still got the entire team together. It'll be interesting to see if they can hang on to them, given they won all 3 of the big competitions this year, and I expect that they would. But let's skip ahead another year and see how they go on. Well, here you can see the season summary for them. They're obviously in quite a few competitions and they managed to come second in the league. Manchester United's turn to have a brilliant season, finishing on 94 points. Leicester got 88, still better than the top 2 teams did last year, but not enough to catch a resurgent Manchester United. Still finishing quite well though. Champions League knocked out in the semi-final by Barcelona. And then they finished runner-up in the UEFA Super Cup, beaten by West Ham, which is quite funny. They did manage to win the FA Cup and win the EFL Cup and the Community Shield. Runner-up in the FA Cup, but they managed to win the EFL Cup, so there's still some silverware for them. They have lost Claudio Ranieri as manager, but I can assume that he wasn't sacked given their position. So he's probably moved on to take over a national team, which is where this game usually works, especially as there will have been international competitions recently. If we just have a look at the senior squad and their performances, maybe sort them by goals first of all. And Luis Suarez got 48 goals in 59 games. Messi got 31, 22 for Ronaldo. It's that front 3 having a phenomenal season. 101 goals between the front 3 is not a bad return at all. Jamie Vardy still there, getting 13. Silmani getting 11. And Mahrez got 16 assists. I think he was the leading assist provider. Now, Marcelo was the leading assist provider. which is not bad going. In terms of appearances, you can see pretty much the first 11. Suarez, Neuer, Ronaldo, Marcelo, Ramos, Modric, Messi, Kroos, and then Riyad Mahrez sneaks in there, which is quite interesting. PK, Danilo, who they must have signed, I assume that Dani Alves is not playing anymore. 6 starts, 8 substitute appearances. He is not getting in the team. Iniesta also looks like he's been forced out a bit. Silmani and Vardy will obviously be changing with Suarez up front. And then Huth getting quite a lot of games. 21-33 for George Mere, who must have been one of their more recent big transfers. So they've done quite well. If you have a look at their transfer history this season, they have spent a little bit of money, which they would, I assume, have an awful lot of money available. Nobody leaving, the same the season before. Wes Morgan and Christian Fuchs are players to leave because obviously they have much better defenders and they didn't sign anybody because of all the players they brought in. So not the best second season. A change in manager may be just affecting them a little bit. Interesting to see that they didn't manage to win the league despite the players they've got at their disposal. I don't know if we can have a look at the Premier League summary. We can. We can see that in the players' stats, Luis Suarez was top goal scorer, a little bit unsurprisingly. Messi came second in that, and then Miguel Borja of West Ham came third. Average rating, Suarez and Messi up there. Suarez won most players of the match. Sergio Ramos getting the yellow cards. Not entirely surprising. But still quite interesting stuff, really. So let's go forward one more year and see if the team is still together, the gang's still there, and how they get on with Simeone having another year to get things in order. Well, they have managed to win the league again. They finished top, 4 points clear of Manchester City. That's 3 very impressive points totals that they've managed to rack up. 27 wins, 7 draws, 4 defeats. It looked like it would have been a tight race between them and Manchester City this time. United dropping much further down on where they were the year before. But it looks like they weren't in any European competition, which surely can't be right. They finished second last season. They must have been in European competition. Maybe we can have a look at their senior squad fixtures. If we go to the schedule, they were in the Champions League, so I'm not sure what's quite gone on there. Why they aren't showing up in the competition screen. But they had an excellent winning run at the start of the season. A few defeats to the likes of Stoke, Manchester United, Chelsea in the FL Cup. So they didn't manage to win that this season like they did last time out. But they did progress through the Champions League and through the FA Cup, getting through the 4th round. And then in the Champions League, they managed to overcome Monaco despite losing 3-2 away. They won 2-0 at home, goals from Modric and Suarez, but Lionel Messi getting sent off. You don't see that very often. Knocked out of the FA Cup by QPR. That must have been a really disappointing performance. And then went out in the Champions League quarterfinal as well. They were beaten by Manchester United. That won't have done them any good. Obviously, the Premier League was the only competition they managed to win. But if we have a look at the players and the squad, in terms of appearances, Manuel Neuer still at the top. Suarez and Ronaldo up there too. Kroos and then Messi. It looks like all the major players are still around. Top goal scorer, again, Luis Suarez. He is phenomenal in this game. Messi getting 27, Ronaldo 23. A bit closer between those two this year. Jamie Vardy getting 10, Mahrez 8. So still the same names popping up. Suarez, the leading assist provider. Toni Kroos getting up there, but not the highest of figures. Let's just have a look at their transfer history and see if they did let anybody go this time. Silmani went to Guangzhou, not too interested in him. Danny Simpson leaving too, Damari Gray. Dani Alves went on a free transfer, so he was the first of the big players to go. He was already quite old when he was brought into the team. I think at the moment he must be 37, 36. So he was the only player to go, but they didn't really make any massive signings. Allen from Napoli, maybe Oliver Burke from Leipzig. Which is interesting. I would have expected them to strengthen the team more, but I suppose the player wages are actually probably having a big effect on the structure of the team and transfer budget, because all of these players are going to be on phenomenal wages. Cristiano Ronaldo, he must be on quite a bit of cash. £475,000 a week is just mad. Messi maybe on even more if we have a look at his contract info. £675,000 a week. The club must be going absolutely bankrupt. Let's have a look at their general information. They're still stated as rich, so they're clearly able to fund this. Doing quite well overall. Captain Luis Suarez, vice captain Kasper Schmeichel. And quite a few of the players have become legends now. Lionel Messi and Luis Suarez, both legends at the club. Claudio Ranieri, also a legend. I wonder what he's up to these days after Simeone took over. Because remember, he was the coach of the year and he is now manager of Italy. That must be a dream ending to his time as a manager. But that is going to be it for this episode. I hope I covered everything you wanted me to take a look at. I will keep this save, so if you do want to see other information, do let me know. If you'd like me to maybe try this team in a different league or just push this further in the future and see if Leicester can sustain this success once the team is retired, just let me know. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you enjoyed it. But until next time, see ya.